Hey you guys, it's Peter, and welcome to my channel, Peterisms, where I tell stories of my life and just little things that I have learned as I have grown into the person that I am today. And I have chosen 2 books very specifically today. You know, I usually just grab 5 or 6 or 7 books, or 8, or 9 or 10, and just kind of randomly pick a meditation. But today, I specifically went through and just kind of skimmed over them. I haven't read them, but I picked 2 different books that I want to read from today. And the first is The Daily Book of Positive Quotations by Linda Picone. I think you guys know how much I love this book. And today's meditation here is called Blessings to Come, which, you know, I always like starting my week kind of thinking about that, you know, and planning the week ahead and thinking about blessings and gratitude and all of that kind of stuff. So I thought that would be a good meditation to read today. And then I want to read from the Don't Sweat the Small Stuff book. And I actually was going through here and I was just kind of looking at some of the titles. And there are so many good readings in here. But because this is something that I say at the end of my vlog every day, I want to read this one. Well, I say something similar to this. And it says, tell 3 people today how much you love them. So I'm going to read that one, followed up by Practice Humility, which is something that I think we can all practice on a regular basis. So I thought those were 2 good readings to read from today. So, first things first, let's start from the Daily Book of Positive Quotations. This is like hands down probably one of my all-time, well, I was going to say my all-time favorite meditation books, but I love the Melody Beatty ones. But the Melody Beatty ones are deeper and they're more specific about, I don't know, my interactions with people. The Melody Beatty books, that are like the sister books to Codependent No More, they really make me think about who I am, like when I leave the house to go interact with other people, if that makes sense, or who I am when I'm around my friends or my family and my husband and stuff like that. It really makes me think about that on a deeper level because it's about codependency. This book is really just kind of like positive thoughts about how you are going to act throughout the day, so to speak. So, I like this one a lot. I like it a lot. March 15th, Blessings to Come. Give thanks for unknown blessings already on their way. Native American proverb. We're pretty good at counting our blessings and being grateful for all of the wonderful gifts life has bestowed upon us. It takes a certain amount of faith to be thankful for blessings we haven't received yet. Faith that the world is bountiful and generous enough to keep giving it to us as long as we live. Faith that we will be able to recognize and appreciate our blessings whenever and from wherever they may come. Today, when I count my blessings, I will make a small leap of faith and be grateful in advance for whatever blessings may come my way tomorrow. I'm kind of shaking my head because it's so interesting. You know, I'll say something and then like I'll do a reading and it's like funny how it all kind of like plays together. So Melody Beatty wrote this book. I can't remember the title of it, but it was like 40 Days and 40 Nights. And it was basically like 40 Days and 40 Nights of Gratitude or something like that. I think this is the book. It's like it's a light blue book. I can see it in my head. I don't know the exact title of it. But in there, she starts talking about, at the beginning, she tells this story about when she was like, I think pregnant with her 2nd child maybe, and she was like, she found out that her husband was like back actively drinking again and he wasn't at home, and she had bought this house that they couldn't afford, and it was like this ramshackle house that they had to like put together, and she just hated this house. She hated everything about it. And I don't remember the specifics about it. But anyway, it was this wonderful story in there. And she started talking about how she hated this house so much that all she thought about is like, she just constantly talked about the negativity, right? Like, I hate this house, I hate this house, I hate this house, I hate this house. And then one day, somebody had said to her, why don't you practice like, you know, paying it forward gratitude, so to speak. And so she sat in the middle of her dining room, which had no table or anything, or living room or something, and she looked around at like the old wallpaper and the gross carpet and all this kind of stuff. And I love this story. I love it. I need to find this book and reread this story. So anyway, she started talking about how, or she talks in there about how she sat in the middle of the room and she started practicing gratitude for everything that she hated, right? Like she would say, I thank you for this house. Thank you for this wallpaper. Thank you for these floors. And she started being grateful for everything that she had, whether she wanted it or not. And it was really about also then she talked about practicing like blessings coming forward for us and being grateful for the things to come as well, you know? Like being grateful for, you know, like when we were growing up and we say, well, a lot of us said like, you know, the prayer about like, you know, being grateful for the food that we're about to eat kind of thing. And so it's very much that. But then she goes in and she talks about how through the practice of blessings and gratitude, she fell in love with trying to repair this house. and that like she took the wallpaper off, and she ended up finding some like other wallpaper. She painted the walls or something, and then she stripped up this ugly carpet, and she found out that this house actually had these beautiful wood floors underneath that were like, you know, old wood floors that she refurnished. And then she found like a couch like in the alley one night, and she pulled it in and she like refabricated it. And so anyway, years later, she like did an interview with Oprah in her house. Like she lived in like Palm Springs or Malibu or something, and her house was in Architectural Digest. And she said in there that it was funny because Oprah was like showing her house and whatever, and that she said, my daughter always says that that first house was her favorite house of ours. You know, like that house that had so much love in it that we put together and stuff. And I think there's a lot of truth to that, you know, like, I mean, we don't have a ginormous house. We have a small little house, but like everything that we have around here, I feel like, I mean, even all this stuff, like I can remember where I got each thing and what it means to me, you know, and I think it's about, you know, being really grateful for what is to come for us. And, you know, like every day, you know, when I'm practicing my gratitude list in my head, I always say, you know, I'm thankful for my life, my sobriety, and my health. Those are the 3 things that I think are real easy for me to take for granted very, very quickly, that I try to never forget, you know? So I think always practicing gratitude is, there's nothing negative that can come from it. And it takes 2 seconds. You can even do it while you're like driving from home to work. It'll take you 5 minutes, trust me. It's invaluable. All right. You know, for a whole year, I did a written gratitude list, and every night when I would come home from vlogging, I would sit down and I would write 10 things that I was grateful for, and then I would say out loud, thank you, to whatever you believe in. You can just say it to the universe if you want to, right? It doesn't have to be a higher power or God. And I would say, you know, like, thank you for my husband, thank you for, but you had to put why too, you know? So since my husband's listening right now, I would say like, thank you for my husband, Alex, for being the most kind, caring, loving partner anybody could ever wish upon, you know, something like that, something very, very true. But no, I'm joking. But, you know, no, I would say, you know, thank you for my husband, Alex, and, you know, for taking care of me today, or, you know, going the extra mile and doing something like, I don't know, just something specific that he had done that day, or, you know, God, I'm grateful for, and like for me, I said God, but you didn't have to, you know, for my car or whatever. But the thing that I made myself do was that each day I couldn't repeat the gratitudes from the day before. So if I was grateful for my husband on like day 1, day 5, I couldn't be grateful for him. Like I had to find more and more things. So for 365 days, I found 10 things, new things to be grateful for on a daily basis. And they were things that were very specific to that day. And then I would read it out loud to kind of affirm it in my head. And it was really, really valuable. I keep on saying I'm going to get back to it, and I don't do it. I don't know why. I'm going to do it today. All right, so let's get into don't sweat the small stuff, and it's all small stuff. So this is 38, if you are wanting to read along. You can't see that at all, but if you want to read along with us. I'm trying to check mark them so I don't reread them. Tell 3 people today how much you love them. Author Stephen Levine asked the question, okay, this is really interesting. He's going to go in and talk about this book. It's called A Year to Live. So when my mom was in the hospital and she was I had no idea at the time, that she was going to be dead in 2 months. I had no idea. I had found this book by Stephen Levine. I was actually going to read it on here like a year ago. And it's called A Year to Live. And I was sitting downstairs when my mom was having testing done. And I was sitting in the lobby of the hospital. It was this beautiful hospital. And they had like a guy playing piano. And he was playing Claire de Lune. I'll never forget. And it was this beautiful spring day outside. And I was just so full of peace and stuff. And I remember looking down. I had the book in my hand like this. And I remember, I've never read the book since. Like, you're supposed to read it like over the course of a year. But I had the book in my hand right here. And I thought to myself, what if I only had a year left to live? Like, it was such a weird conscious thought. And that was the very last doctor's like appointment that I ever took my mom on. And I remember taking her home, and she had like, because of the anesthesia and whatever, she wasn't like saying, she had like a local anesthetic. She was saying like all kinds of weird stuff. And I remember she like looked outside. I used to get real emotional when I would tell the story, but I don't get very emotional anymore when I tell it. She had her hand out the window. My mom loved the Beatles, and she said, "Strawberry Fields Forever." And then she looked at me and she said, "Isn't life beautiful?" And I remember that, like, see, I do get emotional telling that story, but like, that was like the last kind of like lucid conversation that I had with my mom before she went unconscious. So this is interesting to me that this has Stephen Levine in it. I've like felt recently like I'm having all kinds of messages from my mom sent around me, but I'm obviously looking into things. Author Stephen Levine asked the question, if you had an hour to live and could make only one phone call, who would you call? What would you say? And why are you waiting? What a powerful message. Who knows what we are waiting for? Perhaps we want to believe we will live forever, or that someday we will get around to telling the people we love how much we love them. Whatever the reasons, most of us simply wait too long. As fate would have it, I'm writing this strategy on my grandmother's birthday. Later today, my father and I are driving out to visit her gravesite. She died about 2 years ago. Before she passed away, it became obvious how important it was to her to let her family know how much she loved us all. It was a good reminder that there is no good reason to wait. Now is the time to let people know how much you care. Ideally, you can tell someone in person or over the phone. I wonder how many people have been on the receiving end of a phone call where the caller says, "I just called to tell you how much I love you." You may be surprised that almost nothing in the world means so much to a person. How would you like to receive the same message? If you're too shy to make such a phone call, write a heartfelt letter instead. Either way, you may find that as you get used to it, letting people know how much you love them will become a regular part of your life. It probably won't shock you to know that. If it does, you'll probably begin receiving more love as a result. I love this reading so much. And you know, it's interesting, like, I try to not leave things unsaid today with the people in my life. Probably annoyingly so to some people. But you know, like with my mom, like I was talking about that conversation I had with her, but like prior to that, like when my mom started getting really, really sick and she didn't know what was going on with her, but we knew it was bad. She and I did have kind of a last conversation. I've talked about it a lot on a lot of my videos. And, you know, one of the things I feel is a true blessing from my mom's sobriety and my own is that for 13 years my mom and I spoke the language of sobriety. My mom had, you know, I've said this on here recently that like I thanked my mom a lot in videos, but my mom had a lot of issues as well, and she could be a very difficult woman at times. But I don't feel as if there was ever anything that was unsaid. Like I know that the day that she passed, she knew how I felt about her and I knew how she felt about me. There's nothing about that I don't know, you know? Did she have some secrets that she died with? Well, absolutely. If you watch my review channel, you know I joke about it all the time that I found out after my mom passed away that my grandma had gone to prison, you know? And I joke about it over there, but it is kind of like this thing with me. I'm like, how did I not know that? But I don't question things about like how my mom felt about me. It wasn't just in how she spoke, it was in her actions. You know, it was in the way that, you know, she saw me when I would like come to her, you know, like she would open the door and she would hug me, and you know, those are the things that I remember, I think. And I think like with any of the people in my life today, I try not to leave, you know, things unsaid. I try to allow myself to be honest and let people know how I really feel about them today. So, all right, let's do practice humility on another day, and let's just end on that one. Pick 3 people today and really let them know how you feel about them. And I actually think one of them should be a letter. I think sometimes we're more honest in letters, more honest in letters than we are face to face sometimes, because it's, you know, easier to kind of write that out. And maybe pick somebody that you can't talk to, that you would only talk to in a letter. You know what I mean? Anyway, let me know what you think about all of those readings below in the comment section. I love you guys, and I hope you're having a wonderful Sunday, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.